The Labor Party's list has caused ructions, with high-profile broadcaster Willie Jackson upset, we're told, at being placed lower than two other Māori candidates, both of whom are women. The party was expected to announce its list late this morning, but has now delayed that until tomorrow. A sources told RNZ News that Mr Jackson was at number 21 or 22 on the list, below Northland candidate Willow Jean Prime and East Coast candidate Kiri Allen. Mr Jackson has flown to Wellington, reportedly to confront the party over his placing. Now, Labor leader Andrew Little tapped the former Alliance MP to stand for Labor and had indicated he would get a high list placing, but as we'll hear, Andrew Little doesn't have final say over the list. As Willie Jackson questions his placing, sitting MP Sue Moroney has announced she's standing down at the election, having failed to get an electable position. Neither Willie Jackson nor Andrew Little would join us tonight, but former Labor Party President Mike Williams knows a thing or two about drawing up the party's list. I asked him how it worked.
The list needs to be confirmed by the New Zealand Council. Now, that has always been automatic in the past, because the New Zealand Council actually makes up the vast bulk of the moderating committee. The moderating committee consists of the New Zealand Council plus leader, deputy and one other elected caucus member. But my understanding is that there is a challenge that there is not a Maori high enough up on the list. And this has occurred because the sitting MPs in the Maori electorates have opted to get off the list, not to contest the list. So that means that the top person on Maori on the list at the moment, unless it's revised by the New Zealand Council, is Willow Jean Prime, who's either at number 12 or number 15. And there's argument that there's a clause in the Constitution, in the part about the moderating committee, which says that it shall recognise the Treaty of Waitangi guarantees Maori representation. So that's probably my guess, John, what the argument's about.
OK, it's not a good list, Freudian error, it's not a good look that this argument is continuing on the day in which the list should have been revealed, because Labor wanted to sell this list, didn't they? They wanted to say, look at us. This is us, we are modern, we are inclusive, and we are a government in waiting.
It's not a great look, but, you know, the Labor Party is a broad church, and there are lots of bits and pieces to it. And my guess is the women have got a good deal, but Maori haven't. And the New Zealand Council of the party can do anything it likes. So if it chooses to have another look at the list, it can do so.
Is there tension between the council and Andrew Little here? Because Andrew Little likes, rates and wanted Willie Jackson. If he is lower than both he and Willie Jackson thought Willie Jackson would be, is that the council saying, no, he's a Johnny-come-lately, he hasn't served his time and we rate others more highly?
I wouldn't put it that way. My guess is that the moderating committee is very unpredictable. And you cannot make promises about a position on that list, because it's what happens on the day, John. And I can recall a very senior politician who both Helen Clark and I wanted to get a very high winnable place on the list. We couldn't pull that off. And he actually had to go out and win a seat.
Can you name any names, Mike?
Well, it was David Parker. Both Helen and I were strongly supporting David for a high place on the list, but the way it worked out, he didn't get a high place on the list and went and won the seat of Otago for the first and only time a Labor candidate won it. So it's a very unpredictable beast, John, and I suspect that that's what's happened here, that Andrew has said one thing, but, you know, simply couldn't deliver.
Mike, just before you go, we're now hearing that Willie is feeling better about what's going to be announced tomorrow than he was feeling about what was due to be announced today. Can they redo the list? Is this an ongoing process of negotiation, toing and froing, like a Turkish carpet market, until, in fact, the list is complete?
No. This is unprecedented. However, it is not unconstitutional. The New Zealand Council can amend the list after the moderating committee has done it, But once it's announced, it's set in concrete. The list is set in concrete when it's lodged with the Electoral Commission, not before.
Mike Williams, former Labor Party president, talking to us earlier. Obviously, we will cover the Labor Party's list when it is actually announced.